Hakadosh Boker Or Masechet Sotah Daf Amud Aleph says the Mishnah Hamkane liishto. If somebody does kinui to his wife, what is kinui? If he comes and he sees that his wife is fooling around, so he tells her, I prohibit you from having yichud with a certain person. Now remember, yichud is always a sur. There's nothing to permit it. But if a person comes and he does kinui, remember there's kinui ustira in order to become a sotah. Kinui ustira is that if a person is going to come and do kinui ustira, kinui is going to be that he says that he doesn't want, right, that they're not going to come and they're not going to be alone. And then there's stira. What is stira? The person comes and they catch the wife being alone. That is called stira, and then that's where the concept of the sotas plays into effect. Rabbi Eliezer says, he has to come and he has to do it in front of two witnesses. But he gives her the waters to drink through one witness. Right? That means the kinui has to be done with two witnesses. But when she secludes herself with a man, it's enough one witness, and that's already enough. Okay? Or more, even he himself is already enough to come and to do this. Right? Rabbi Yoshua says, Mekanela al pi shnayim, umashke al pi shnayim. No. Says Rabbi Yoshua, you need 2 and 2. 2 witnesses for the kinui, 2 witnesses for the stira. Everyone understood? One more time. Sotah. Sotah is a woman that she's suspected of infidelity. Yeah. What happens? First step of kinui is the husband comes and he says, you know what? I don't like this. I see that you're too much with this guy. You take 2 witnesses and you come and you do kinui. What is kinui? You're mekane, you're jealous of her. So you come and you say, you're not allowed to be by yourself with this man. You say that in front of 2 witnesses. That's called kinui. According to everybody, the kinui has to be done with 2 witnesses. One second. Afterwards comes something which is called stira. What is stira? She nisteret, that she does seclude herself with this man. So there, how many witnesses do you need in order to obligate her to drink the waters of the sotah? According to Rabbi Eliezer, it's 1, right? Or even himself, meaning he did it in front of 2 witnesses, and then he himself came and he tore her by herself. That's already enough to come and to give her to drink the water of the sotah. Rabbi Yoshua came and he said, no, 2 for kinui, 2 for stira. So asks the Mishnah, Keitze mekanela, Amar la bifnei shnayim. How does he do kinui? How does the husband do kinui? Says if he tells her in front of 2 witnesses, right? He comes and he tells her, right? Al tedabri mishploni. Don't speak to this person. Don't even speak to him, right? Al tedabri mishploni vedibraimo, and she spoke to him. Adayni muter leveta, right? She's still permitted to her husband. Umuter lechol bitruma. She's permitted to eat truma. If the husband's a kohen, she's allowed to eat truma. Why? Because speaking is nothing. And again, she's speaking in a public place. Yeah, but if she went into a private place with him, and now she waited there the time that it takes for tum'ah, which means that it was a time that, there's a whole question, how long does that take? But basically, it's a time that she could have relations, right? That means if she just went inside for 30 seconds, it's not enough. But if she went inside a place and she was there for, a few minutes, right? What? So what happened is that if she just said that, listen, right, if he told her, don't speak to somebody, and now she comes and speaks to him, she's still permitted to her house. And she's permitted to eat truma, but if she went and secluded herself and she stayed enough time for truma, asura lebeta, she's not allowed to be with her husband, vasura lechol bitruma, and she's not allowed to eat truma. Vimet. Now what happens right now if the husband dies without children before she drank the waters of the sotah waters? Yeah? Choletzet velo mityabemet. She does chalitza. She does not do yibum. Right? She does chalitza because maybe be'emet, because she had the kinui already. So since she had the kinui, not only the kinui, she had the kinui and she had the stira, but she didn't have enough time in order to drink the waters. So in such a case, maybe she did have relations, and therefore it's going to be prohibited for her to do chalitza, yibum. She could only do chalitza. But that says michti. Let us see. Tana min Nazir Salik. We just finished Masechet Nazir. My Tana de Tana Sotah. Right? What is it, the connection between Nazir and Sotah? Why is it that we first come and we teach you Masechet Nazir, and after finishing Nazir, you start Sotah? So answers the Gemara, Kede Rabbi like Rabbi. The Tanya we learned in the Braita. Rabbi says, Lama nismecha parashat Nazir parashat Sotah? Why is it that parashat Nazir is inside parashat Sotah in the Torah? Lomar lecha to tell you shekol haroeh sotah bikekula yazir etzmo min hayayin. Right? To tell you that if you see a Sotah, what are you supposed to do? Stop drinking wine. Become a Nazir. Stop drinking wine. Why? Because yayin margin le'avera. Well, you think that the Sotah became a Sotah for the fun of it? She had a drink. She starts getting, this, the guys, they come, they pour the wine. Yeah, she drinks, she got. And then what happens is when people start drinking wine, that's when a person starts doing averot. So therefore he comes and he says, that's why. So the Gemara asks, 1 second. Litni Sotah. Bekilkula. In exactly when she did her avera.
What does that mean? After the sira?
Of course, after the sira and after the kinui. After the sira. Right? And now she comes and she's drinking the water. When a person sees a Sotah and she's coming and she's already and she's already in her embarrassment, then you should become a Nazir. So says the Gemara, and by the way, that's the way that it is written in the Torah. In Parashat Naso, first you have Sotah, and then you have Nazir. So says the Gemara, Velitni Sotah, Nazir. So do like the Torah. Sotah should have come before Nazir. Just like in the Bible. The Bible is right in the Torah. Right? It says in Numbers, in Bamidbar, in Parashat Naso. First it says Sotah, and then Nazir. So two is the same name. Meaning, if the connection is that if you see a Sotah, you should become a Nazir, so first teach Sotah, and then Nazir. Answers the Gemara, I did the Tana Ketubot. Once we taught Ketubot, the Tana Madir, and we learned in Ketubot the concept of a Madir, which means a person comes and he makes a promise to his wife about, or promise that whether she's working, no, or all these different Tana Nadarim. So we taught Nadarim. Now that we learn Nadarim, Tana Nazir, we learn Nazir, because Nazir is a Neder. When you become a Neder of Nazirut, that's why he said you could do a Tarat Nedarim on your Nazirut. Tadamil Nazarim. Ketani Sotah, then we learned Sotah because of Rabbi. Okay, which means that's the connection between Nazir and Sotah. Fine. So says the Gemara now, Amkaneh leishto. We're talking about now Kinui. Diavad in the Chatchila lo. When it says Amkaneh leishto, it's mashma only b'diavad. Why does the Gemara is mashma? Why does the Mishnah use a form of Amkaneh leishto, meaning if you already did this? Right? Which means b'diavad, yes, not lechatchila. So it comes out that our Tana holds that lechatchila, you're not allowed to do kinui. And the reason why is kinui causes problems. When you come to your wife and you say, you know what, I don't want you talking to this guy, you're causing a strife. You're causing, you're causing stress. You're causing fights. You're causing problems, right? So therefore, because of that, right, what happens? He comes and he says, because of that, right, it's very important to realize that the Tana of our Mishnah holds, it's a sur to do what? To do kinu.
So, b'diavad, just
that's why it said
b'diavad, you're allowed to.
The Gemara, Amar of Shmuel Bar Yitzchak says of Shmuel Bar Yitzchak, Ki Ava Patich LeShakish BeSotah. Do you know that when a Shakish used to start Masechet Sotah, Amar Hachi, he always used to start with Agadah. Because whenever you start something, you always start with stories. If you come and you start and it's like too deep, they run away. Exactly. They come the first yud and then they run out. Exactly. So what do you have to do? You have to come. You have to start with nice stories. Soft. First you go soft one, right? So he says like this: Em mezavginu la'adam, right? Isha ela lafi ma'asav. Some people come and they complain to me. They say, Rabbi, like the wife is like this, and this, and that. And you tell you know why? Because of you. Yeah. Em mezavginu la'adam isha ela lafi ma'asav. How do we know? Shneimar says the pasuk. You're not going to have Mamshelet Rasha, right, the Rishut, right, on the Tzaddik. You're not going to put a Reshait to the Tzaddik. So therefore, obviously, you got your own taste of your own medicine, right? This is what you are, right? Your mirror. So Amar Rabbi Baruch Hanam Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, Yekashin lezavegan tikriyat yamsuf. Do you know it is so difficult to do, right? The concept of zivug. Right? It's like Kriyat Yamsuf. Why? Shneimar says the pasuk. This is a pasuk that we read on, all right, in Tehillim, Elohim Moshiv Yechidim Baita, Motzi Asirim V'Kosharot on Shavuot. Right? They come and the Yechidim, they come in Zavgam to Lakim Bait. And then he says that just like he was Ga'alet Israel, right, in Mitzrayim, right, that it was very Motzi Asirim V'Kosharot, that he took them out in the month of Nisan. Right? That's where we're right now. We're right in the month of Nisan. So he took us out of Mitzrayim. So it's like Kriyat Yamsuf. So therefore, so too is the thing when he's coming and he's making the concept of the zivug. So ask the Gemara, any is it so? The Amar Rav Yudah says, when you have 40 days before the Yetzirat Vlad, bat kol yotzeh ve'omenet ba ploni leploni, bait ploni leploni, right? Ve'sadeh ploni leploni. Says, 1 second. How could you tell me now that at each Isha, they're going to be according to their actions, right? We don't know what actions they're going to have later on. And if it's already written that 40 days before Yetzirat Vlad, when is 40 days before Yetzirat Vlad?
Conception.
When is that? Night of the mikveh, right? So the night of the mikveh, which is 40 days before the Yetzirat Vlad, right? He says there's a bat kol that comes out, and it says bat ploni leploni. The daughter of so and so is going to get married to so and so.
We have no free will.
Bait ploni leploni. The house will be to ploni. The sadeh ploni leploni. So if you see from here that it's already from the beginning. From the beginning of the creation, we already know who's going to be your batzu. So how could you tell me now that because you come at what's going on exactly? How does that make sense? Answers the Gemara, la kashya. It's not a question. Ha bezivug rishon, ha bezivug sheni. The one of Rav that says that there's a bat kol that comes out, that's zivug rishon. Zivug rishon, meaning the first wife that you're going to get, that's zivug rishon. That comes from the 40 days right before Yetzirat Vlad.
So that means supposedly you should never get divorced then. She is the zivug amiti.
But the second one, right, is the zivugo shel adam shetalui ba ma'asim is zivug sheni. That's going to be the second, right, zivug. The second zivug according to your actions.
The second zivug doesn't mean that there's a divorce in between.
Rabbi Eliezer says mekanele al pi shnayim. We learned from Mishnah. We're on the 2 dots on the bottom of Bet Amud Aleph that you do kinui through 2 witnesses. When do we say that there's not going to be a machlok between them? Ela bekinui ustira. What does that mean? Kinui ustira. Aval betum'ah. But when there's going to be tum'ah, ed echad meheman. 1 witness is going to be believed. What does that mean? Until here, we're talking about kinui ustira. But to do with tum'ah, right? What does that mean? That she actually did have relations. Meaning here we're talking that somebody saw the relations. Meaning, exactly. Until now we're talking about kinui. What is kinui? He's jealous of her. Meaning he suspects something. There's something in the air, something there. Then the stira, they saw him seclude. They saw her seclude herself with a guy. But now there's something which is called tum'ah. Tum'ah, she actually had relations. That's enough with 1 witness. Meaning this is all talking about kinui stira. How many witnesses do you have? According to everybody, kinui needs 2. There's a machlok of Rabbi Eliezer Yeshua. Then what about the stira? Is it enough 1 or the person himself? Or is it enough 2? Or do you need 2? Not enough 2. You need 2. Now all of a sudden comes and he says, but betum'ah. According to everybody, Ed Echad is going to be believed. We also learned it in the Mishnah. Ed Echad omer ani raiti shenitmet. Right? If right now 1 witness comes and says, after the kinui and the siras, 1 witness comes and he says that he saw that she became tmeah, lo haita shota, she wouldn't drink the sotah waters. Right? Why? Because at the end of the day, he's believed. Right? Remember, the sotah was only in a safek. We don't know what happened. So she drinks the sotah waters, and the sotah water is a test. Right? Litmus test. Did she do the sin or not do the sin? But if you have a witness that comes and he says, right, besides the 2 witnesses or the whatever it is, that she had the stira, a witness comes and says, I saw. You understand? So then there's no doubt. So there's no sotah.
There should be a doubt. No sotah. Who is he that would believe him?
So let's speak. So says the Gemara, Midoraita min alam me'men echad. Ask the Gemara, how do we know that Midoraita, 1 witness is going to be believed here? 1 witness is going to be believed? Right? Why? The Tanu Rabbanan. Right? All you have to do is continue learning. Asking questions. Learn. The Tanu Rabbanan, because we learned in the Braita. Ve'edem bah. What does it mean that there's no witness that she was nitmeah? Yishnayim ha'katuv midaberet. That pasuk is talking about 2 witnesses. Or maybe we're talking about that even though it says ve'edem bah, maybe it's only talking about 1 witness. Tamuluban comes teach you lo yakum ed echad beish. So 1 witness can never testify about a man. Bet amubet. Since it says that a person cannot testify about a man lo yakum ed echad beish, and I already know that it's 1 witness. So malav tamuluban, what does it mean then? Lo yakum ed echad. It's a bana av. It's a binyan av. Kol makom shneimar ed harekan shnayim. Anytime that it says ed, the word ed, that means even though ed, it doesn't say edim, which is plural. Ed is a witness. But anytime that it says the word ed, it means automatically 2 witnesses. Until the pasuk comes and it explains to you, right, ed echad. So therefore the Gemara says, the Torah says, Trei lepa. you don't have two witnesses. Elachad, but you have one. So therefore it says, the fact that you don't have two witnesses, but you do have one witness, you don't need pasa. So she wasn't grabbed, meaning she wasn't violated in this case. So then she's going to be asura. So you see from here that even the koach of Ed Yachid, the Ed Yachid is going to be believed because it comes from the Torah. Meaning the Torah is giving you an exception to the rule. Usually you're right, you always need two witnesses. Here, after kinui, after stira, and now you have one witness saying that she actually had relations, that's enough. Probably you're going to answer is because there's reglaim nadavar. Reglaim nadavar means there's substantial evidence. And listen, he already was jealous of her, meaning he suspected something. She already secluded herself with him, and there's witnesses on that as well. And now you're going to tell me now, so what happens? Yeah, she probably did do something, because there's one witness that comes and says it. So there's enough. It meaning that there's no smoke and fire. You know, the same thing. Meaning that there's something already here. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, but rather because it's written, I would have thought to say, it means if it wouldn't have been written, I would have thought to mean that really the ed of the sotah is one. And if there's not going to be one, my mitzvah, how's she going to become prohibited? Meaning, if you're going to tell me, not like what we mentioned before, that really be'emet, when it says ve'edem ba means that there's no witnesses. So how's she going to become prohibited if there's no witnesses? Says you still need it. I would have thought to say when it says edem ba, eneman ba. When it says edem ba, it means that there's no one witness. The one witness is not believed to testify, right? And therefore comes to teach you that she is believed. So says the Gemara, eneman ba, why wouldn't she be believed? What do you need? You need adika trade. You have two. So don't say anything, right? The atya davar davar mimon. You have a gzera shava, davar davar, right? That comes from money. Va'ana yadana, which means that we already know, right? That it says ki matzah ba'ervat davar. When you find an ervat davar, and it says al pi shnei edim yakum davar. The fact that it's written davar by money and davar by this by arayot. So therefore, you have a gzera shava. Va'ana yadana. We know. Any witness, any testimony in the Torah, you always need two. So don't tell me anything by the sotah, and you already know that you need two witnesses. So says the Gemara, you need it. Why do you need it? I would have thought to say sotah shane, sotah is different to raglaim ladavar, and that's what I just told you before. That means there's substantial. It's probably the probabilities are so great that she did have relations and she cheated on her husband. She had the kinui, v'nistira, she had the stira. So I would have thought to say that she's going to be believed with one witness. And therefore, to take out of that, we had to say that Ed Echad is not believed on the Tumah. So says the Gemara, or can you actually say the Enne Mamba that he's not going to be permitted? The Sharia? He's not going to be believed and she's going to be permitted to the husband? It's written, she wasn't grabbed. Mikal Dasura. Meaning, obviously, if she's violated, other than the wife of a Kohen, she's always permitted. Because if a woman's violated, it's against her will. Yeah? So says the Gemara, you need it. Why? I would have thought to say ene mamba, right? Adi katre. He's not going to be believed until there's going to be two witnesses. I mean, two witnesses also. It's also that she wasn't grabbed. Kamashmalan comes teach you when it says lo yakum ed echad, it's come to teach you that an ed stam in the Torah means all of a sudden two witnesses. Okay, fine. Two dots. Rabbi Yoshua comes and he says that you have to do kinui al pi shnayim, and the stira has to be al pi shnayim. That was Rabbi Yoshua, not Rabbi Eliezer. Says the Gemara, "My Tamim Yeshua." What's the reason of Yeshua? Amarkar says in the pasuk, "Veden ba." What does it mean, ba? Ba, right? Velo bekinui. Ba velo b'stirai. When it says ve'eden ba, means that there's not one witness on the kinui, neither one witness on the stira. Meaning, he's learning from the fact that it says ve'eden ba, that there's no ed, not with her, not what to do with the concept of the kinui or the stira. They have the exact same halachot, the kinui and the stira. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Eliezer says ba. He says, no, the word ba only refers to the kinui, not to the stira. So says the Gemara, maybe ba also refers to the stira. So he says, stira itkeshetuma. No, the stira is juxtaposed, has a juxtaposition, proximity to the tum'ah. It says in the pasuk, v'nistera v'hi nitma. She had stira and she became tme'ah. So therefore, since they're brought down together, so therefore, that's why I say, just like the tum'ah, it's enough one witness. So to the stira, enough one witness. That's Rabbi Eliezer. That's Rabbi Eliezer. And Rabbi Yoshua learned it from ba, right? Ba, ve'edem ba, not by the kinui, not by the stira. So ask the Gemara. Yes, by the ed and ba. There's no one witness by the kinui. There's no one witness by the stira. Meaning you need two and two. Two by the kinui, two by the stira. According to Rabbi Yoshua. According to Rabbi Eliezer, two by the kinui, one by the stira. Ask the Gemara, kinui nami itkeshetuma. But the kinui was also, because it says, v'kinet ishto v'nitma. Meaning you wanted to make a hekesh, you wanted hekeshes, things which are brought down close proximity. You wanted to do a v'nistira v'nitma. Stira and tum'ah. He says also kinui and tum'ah is also. V'kinet ishto v'nitma. So it's both of them together. Says the Gemara, hamiyet rachmana ba. But no, when it says ba, it comes to exclude that. Right? That means v'edem ba, not by the stira. So he says, Umaraita. Why do you want to say that? So he says, mistabra mistira difa. It's much better stira, shekeno sarta, that it's prohibiting her like the tuma. Meaning, just like if you know that she for sure committed adultery, she's prohibited. Yes. So too the stira is going to be the same thing. That means stira prohibits, just like tuma prohibits. The kinui doesn't prohibit. The kinui is just like a warning, right? That's what it is. Okay? So says the Gemara, Adraba, the opposite. Kinui adif, shekenikar garamla. Says the kinui is better. Why is the kinui better? Because the kinui is the cause of everything. Meaning the kinui is the start. If you don't have the kinui, you could do stira 20, there's nothing there. So says the Gemara, no. He loves stira, kinui. He says, if there's no stira, is there kinui? Meaning, right, what mamashut is there to kinui if there's no stira? You could do kinui. If she never in her life again goes by herself, the kinui was invalid. It's a warning, but there's nothing there in the kinui.
Maybe there was no stira because there was.
So says the Gemara, we love kinui. But if there was no kinui, the stira in itself also doesn't help. Because if you're by yourself with the woman 20 times, but there was never a kinui beforehand, she's never going to have to drink the sotah waters. So that also is not there. So says the Gemara, filuachi stira dipa. Even with that, stira is going to be better. Because stira is the beginning of the tumah. Meaning the kinui is not the beginning of the tumah. The kinui is a jealousy and a warning from the husband. Watch out, I'm watching you. The stira is the beginning of tumah. The stira is when they seclude themselves. How do you do? Is the action. That's the foreplay. That's what it starts. Right, exactly. That's where it starts, the stira. So says the Gemara, right? Matznit the loki aitana. So our Mishnah is not like this. Tanya, we learned in the Braita, right? The Tanya, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Dawam, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Eliezer, says Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Eliezer, Hamkaneli, Ishto Mekane al Pi Echad, al Pi Atzmo. Even the kinui could be done through one witness or even himself. And now you have to give her to drink through two. That means our Mishnah is obviously not like this opinion. Because in our Mishnah, according to everybody, you needed two for the kinui, two witnesses for the kinui, and it can't be yourself. And only the stira was a machloket. Here, it's opposite. The kinui could be done by yourself or through one witness, but the drinking has to be done through two witnesses. So Yeshivu Chachamim, the Chachamim, they come and they say, no, there's not going to be a so. Oh, why? You could always forbid the woman then. Imagine every single Joe Schmo is going to come and tell his wife, be careful not to be with this man. So he just did kinui. So there's hundreds of men, they're all doing kinui. Before you have to take two witnesses, it's a little bit embarrassing. You know, you're in front of the two witnesses, you're coming, you're telling your wife. You understand? It's a little bit muddy. You know, it's not. Yeah, exactly. But so says the Gemara. My time you say, what's the reason you said Yehuda? Says Amar Kaz. The pasuk says, "Then ba velo b'stira." It only goes on the stira, not on the kinui. So ask the Gemara, "Veima ba velo b'kinui." Says kinui itkeshu tuma. The kinui has the kesh to the tuma. But it says v'kinet shovin tuma. Says the Gemara, stira was also itkeshu tuma. Tichtiv v'nitzeva tuma. And says the Gemara, hu lekama shiur stira kedei tuma odota. When it says v'nitzera v'nitma, it says how long do you have to do the stira for? Kedei tuma, in order to become tmeah. Meaning, if she went into an elevator with a man, and there's only 5 floors in the building, so that's 30 seconds by the time it gets to floor lobby to floor 5 or floor 3 or whatever it is. That's not called stira, because at the end of the day, even though she was by herself, right, there's nothing there. You understand? There's nothing really there. So comes and he says, "Yeah, stira nami yikeshet tuma." He says, "No, haul lekama shiur stira kedei tuma hudata." Says the Gemara, Yeshivu Chachamim the Chachamim. They say the Rabbi so you done in the verse of. What does it mean in the verse of? It says the zimnin de lokan, right? Because many times it could happen, but the guy didn't do kina. The amar kanai, but then he said afterwards he did do the kina. So halim ishnatenu. So you understand what happened? The guy, there was stira. Now he comes, he says, I did kinui. Who did you do it in front of? Myself. He didn't do it, but he said it. So that's the end of the Varsof. How are you going to get out of this? So he says, and what in our Mishnah there is, it could be that she never did stira, and he's going to say that she did stira. Because in our Mishnah, it was the kinui, right? It was the kinui that had to be done. But what about the stira? So Amar Yochanan says after the Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, even according to Yosef Yehuda, there's no Devar Tov. So he says after the Yosef Yehuda, the Lo Mibal Mishnatenu, not only a Mishnah, other of the opposite. The Mishnatenu Ika Ikar. At the end of the day, or in the Mishnah, you have much more to rely on because you already did the kinui with two witnesses. If you already did the kinui with two witnesses, that sets the floor ground, like the ground. You already did something. Hatam over there, like there's nothing. Because it could be there was never a kinui at all. But if it was stated, this is what it was stated. Amar but Yosef Amar Yochanan. Says it was named Yochanan. The Derby said Mishnatenu, and the Devar Tov, there's not going to be a Devar Tov. So Amar Chanina Misura says Lo lemein shlatitei. A person should not come and say to his wife, yeah, Bazman hazeh lo tiseh belevanim. Meaning nowadays, never say this. Why are you not going to say this nowadays? He says, you know why you're not going to say this nowadays? He comes and he says, Dilma kamna Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, maybe we pass like Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. Ta'amar kinui al pi atzmo, right? But he says that kinui is al pi atzmo, umistatra, and then she's going to do stira, veleka ha'inna, and nowadays there's no meisutah lemivdaka. Meaning like this. Nowadays, what happens? A woman's they're going to come, they're going to do kinui. What happens afterwards? If she does stira, chalas nigmar sipur. Why? There's no waters of the sotah anymore. So now it comes out that she's prohibited to her husband forever. And you can't even test her. You can't even do anything to find out whether she did or not. Fine, next. He says, it's causing chaos between him and her. That's a kinui. Kinui is like kinah. You could do it by yourself. What? Nobody's going to know that they did the kinui. So he says, what's happening in front of us? Meaning, what happened is this woman comes and she's starting to distance herself from certain men. And then it's going to have chaos, meaning that it's not between her and her husband, between her and other people. Because this guy, it could have been that he was a friend of hers since a childhood friend. And all of a sudden, she comes and she stops talking to him. She starts doing things. And he's like, what can I do? Like, well, what's going on here? So that's what's causing kina between him and her. He says, no, between kina, between him and her. Alma Kasam is from here. And everybody knows that there was kinui. And he's going to come, and only the husband is allowed to come and to do the kinui, which is going to cause the chaos, right, between them. So therefore, we're going to see